The 29th year 218 BCE, the first emperor made an inspection tour to the east. When he reached Bolan Gs, Ha in Yanglu, he was startled by robbers. He ordered a manhunt, but the robbers were not caught, so he issued a decree for a large-scale search across the entire nation for 10 days. The emperor climbed Mount Zihifu and had a stone stele inscribed. The inscription read, "In the 29th year, during the second month of spring, the weather turned warm. The emperor toward the east, ascended Mount Zihifu, and faced the vast sea. His accompanying ministers beheld the beautiful scenery, recalled the emperor's great achievements, and cherished the deeds of his ancestors. The great and sage emperor governs the state, establishes legal systems, and clarifies ethical principles and discipline. He educates the feudal lords, widely bestows grace, and enables them to understand righteousness. The 6 states were treacherous, greedy, and perverse, perpetually cruel and tyrannical. The emperor pitied the people, finally dispatched troops for conquest, and exerted his virtuous power to eliminate tyranny. With just punishment and sincere actions, his prestige spread far and wide, and none dared to refuse submission. He destroyed the brutal powerful enemies, saved the common people under heaven, and brought stability to the 4 seas. He implemented strict laws, administered the world, and established this as an eternal model. Great indeed. All the people under heaven abide by the emperor's decrees. The ministers praise his virtues and merits, and request that the emperor's achievements be carved on this stele as an eternal rule for posterity." The inscription on the eastern pavilion stated, "In the 29th year, the emperor traveled in spring to inspect distant land. He arrived at the seashore, climbed Mount Zihifu, and faced the rising sun. The emperor gazed at the vast and beautiful scenery, while his accompanying ministers all recalled the past and thought of the sage wisdom. The laws formulated by the emperor had just been implemented. Internally, he eliminated treachery. Externally, he suppressed rebellion. The military prestige spread far and shook the 4 quarters, capturing the kings of the 6 states. The emperor unified the whole country, eliminated disasters, and permanently quelled wars. The emperor is sage, benevolent, and virtuous. He administers state affairs with unremitting diligence. He established great righteousness, unified measurement standards, and ensured all things have norm. Ministers abide by their duties, all know their responsibilities, and act without doubt. The common people have reformed their customs, and systems are unified everywhere, something unprecedented since ancient times. People's occupations are determined. Future generations will follow the established undertakings, and inherit the wise systems forever. The ministers admire the emperor's virtues, respectfully praise his great achievements, and request that a stele be erected on Mount Zihifu." Shortly afterward, the emperor proceeded to Lanyao Commandery, returned to the capital via Shangdang Commandery. The 30th year 217 BCE, there were no major events. The 31st year 216 BCE, in the 12th month, the law festival was renamed Jiaping. The common people were awarded 6 shi of rice to sheep Perli, a unit of local administration. The emperor made an incognito tour of Xiangyan, accompanied by 4 warriors. When he went out at night and passed Lan Kai, he encountered robbers and was in danger. The warriors killed the robbers, and consequently, a large-scale search was conducted in the Guangzhou region for 20 days. The price of rice rose to 1,600 coins per. The 32nd year 215 BCE, the emperor traveled to Mount Zhai. Xian sent Lu Sheng, a native of Yan, to seek the immortals Yan Men and Jiu Shu. He had inscriptions carved on the stone gate of Jishi. The emperor ordered the destruction of city walls and the digging through of dikes. The inscription read, "Dispatch troops and generals to punish the unrighteous and eliminate rebels. Use military force to eradicate cruel traitors and civil virtue to protect innocent people. This is what the people desire. Reward those with merits. Grace extends to livestock and nourishes the land within the borders." The emperor exerted his prestige, unified the feudal lords through virtuous influence, and achieved the unification and stability of the world for the first time. Demolish city walls, dig through dikes, and level dangerous obstacles. The geographical situation has been determined, and the people no longer need to perform co-RV. Men happily engage in farming, women manage their households, and all affairs are in good order. The emperor's grace covers all industries. Both local and migrant farmers live and work in peace and contentment. The ministers praise the emperor's achievements and request that an inscription be carved here to clarify laws and regulations for posterity. The emperor then sent Han Zong, Lord Hu, and Shisheng to seek the elixir of immortality. He inspected the northern border and returned to the capital via Shangzhen Commandery. Liu Shen returned from the sea, talked about supernatural and ghostly matters, and took the opportunity to present the books he had copied, on which was written, "The Who will destroy Qin." The emperor then dispatched General Mentian to mobilize 300,000 soldiers to attack the Hu in the north and captured the region south of the Yellow River. The 33rd year, 214 BCE, the emperor ordered the conscription of fugitive criminals, men who had married into their wives, families Ruzhu, and merchants to attack the Luoyang region. He established Guilin, Xiang, and non-high commander is there and sent criminals to garrison them. In the northwest, he drove out the Xiongnu. From Yuzhong eastward along the Yellow River to the Yin Mountains, he established 44 counties and built cities along the Yellow River as military fortresses. The emperor further sent Mentian across the Yellow River to occupy Gaoqiu, Yangshan, and Bijiazong and built forts to expel the wrong people. He relocated exiled criminals to populate the newly established town. Folk sacrifices were prohibited. A comet appeared in the west. The 34th year 213 BCE. Officials who handled cases unjustly were sent to build the Great Wall or garrison the Nanyu region. The emperor held a feast in the Xianyang Palace, and 70 scholars came forward to wish him longevity. The supervisor of attendance Ui Iju King Chen presented a eulogy, saying, "In the past, the territory of Qin did not exceed 1,000 li. Relying on your majesty's divine sagehood, we have pacified the 4 seas, driven out the wrong demon and Yi barbarian. Wherever the sun and the moon shine, none dare to refuse submission. You have converted the feudal lords' fiefdoms into commander-isent counties. Everyone lives and works in peace and contentment, free from the worry of war. Such a great achievement can be passed down for 10,000 generations. Since ancient times, no one has been able to match your majesty's prestige and virtue." The emperor was very pleased. Shen Yu, a scholar from Qi, stepped forward and said, "I have heard that the Yin and Zhu dynasties reigned for more than 1,000 years because they envy-fed their descendants unmeritorious ministers to assist the royal house. Now your majesty possesses the land within the 4 seas, but your royal descendants are commoners. If there suddenly appear rebellious ministers like Yingcheng or the 6 ministers, and there is no one to assist, who will come to the rescue? I have never heard of anything that can last long without following the ancient ways. Now Zhu King Chen is further flattering you to your face and aggravating your faults. He is not a loyal minister." The emperor referred their arguments to his ministers for discussion. The prime minister Li Si said, "The 5 emperors did not duplicate each other's systems, and the 3 dynasties did not inherit each other's institutions. Each governed the state according to its own circumstance. This is not because the later generations intended to oppose the earlier ones, but because the times were different. Now your majesty has founded a great undertaking unestablished merits that will last for 10,000 generations. These are inherently beyond the understanding of foolish Confucian scholars. What Chen Yu spoke of was only the affairs of the 3 dynasties. What is there to emulate? In the past, the feudal lords stood side by side and competed with each other, so they recruited wandering scholars with generous treatment. Now the world has been pacified, and laws and decrees are uniformly issued by your majesty. The common people should devote themselves to farming and craftsmanship at home, and scholars should study the laws and avoid prohibition. However, today's Confucian scholars do not study the current laws, but instead study the institutions of the past, using them to criticize contemporary politics and confuse the common people. Your servant, Prime Minister Li Si, dares to speak bluntly with his life at stake. In ancient times, the world was divided and chaotic, and no one could unify the command, so the feudal lords arose. All of them praised the past to undermine the theories of the present, used false words to obscure the essence of things, and each praised the doctrines they favored to criticize the systems established by your majesty. Now the emperor has unified the world, distinguished black from white, and reveres only your majesty. Private individuals jointly criticize the state's laws and decrees. When people hear that an order has been issued, they use the knowledge they have learned to discuss it, criticizing it in their hearts when entering the court and gossiping about it in the streets when leaving. They praise the ruler to gain fame, express dissent to elevate themselves, and lead the people to spread rumors and create trouble. If this is not prohibited, it will lower the monarch's prestige above and allow cliques to form below. Prohibition is the correct course of. I request that all historical records, except the Qinji, be burned. Holding the official position of Bashai, anyone in the world who dares to privately possess the Book of Songs, Book of Documents, or works of the 100 schools of thought must hand them over to the provincial governors, Zhenshu and county magistrates, Yanwei to be burned. Anyone who dares to discuss the Book of Songs or Book of Documents occasionally shall be beheaded and displayed to the public. Those who use ancient institutions to criticize current law shall be executed along with their clans. Officials who know of such acts but fail to report them shall be guilty of the same crime as the offenders. Those who do not burn the books within 30 days of the order being issued shall have their faces tattooed and be sentenced to Chendan forced labor as a wall builder. The books that do not need to be destroyed are those on medicine, divination, and agriculture. If anyone wishes to study the laws, they may learn from government officials. The imperial edict said approved. The 35th year 212 BCE, the emperor ordered the construction of a straight road connecting Jiayuan to Yingcheng. Mountains were chiseled through, valleys were filled in, and a direct thoroughfare was opened. At this time, the emperor thought that Xianyang had a large population and the palaces of the former kings were too small, saying, I have heard that King Wen of Shu built his capital at Feng, and King Wu of Shu at Hao. The area around Feng and Hao is indeed a place where emperors establish their capitals. Therefore, he began constructing palaces in the Shinglin Garden south of the Wei River. The first to be built was the Yipan Palace. Its main hall was 500 bu long from east to west and 50 shen wide from north to south. 10,000 people could sit in the hall. Surrounding the hall was a raised corridor jetta for carriages to travel on, connecting the hall to Mount Nan. A viewing tower was built on the top of Mount Nan as a ladder. An elevated passageway Fudao was constructed, connecting Yipeng Palace across the Wei River to Xianyang, symbolizing the celestial pole corridor, crossing the Milky Way to reach the Yingxi constellation. Yipeng Palace was not yet completed. When it was finished, the emperor intended to give it a more elegant name. Since the palace was built at Yipeng, people under heaven called it Yipeng Palace. More than 700,000 criminals serving in Yinguang hidden workshops for craftsmen with tattoos were sent in batches to build Yipeng Palace or the Lish and Mausoleum. Stones were quarried from Mount Bei, and timber was transported from Shu and Chu, all delivered to Yipeng Palace. There were 300 palaces in Guangzhou and over 400 outside Guangzhou. A stone cell was then erected within the territory of Ku County on the east coast, marking it as the eastern gateway of the Qin territory. 30,000 households were relocated to Liyi and 50,000 to Yunyan, all exempted from co-RV labor for 10 years. Lu Sheng advised the emperor, we have been seeking the elixir of immortality and immortals but have never found them. There may be something hindering them. The immortal recipes say that if the ruler often travels incognito, he can avoid evil spirits. When evil spirits are avoided, true immortals will appear. If the place where the ruler resides is known to his ministers, it will hinder the arrival of immortals. True immortals do not get their clothes wet when entering water, do not get burned when entering fire, can ride on clouds and mist, and live as long as heaven and now your majesty governs the world and cannot yet achieve tranquility and inaction. I hope that the palace where your majesty resides will not be known to others, then the elixir of immortality can probably be obtained. The emperor then said, I greatly admire those true immortals. From now on I shall call myself Sen Ren True Man and no longer refer to myself as Sen, the imperial I. He then ordered that the 270 palaces within 200 li of Xianyang be connected by Fudao and covered walkways Yangdao, and furnished with curtains, bells, drums, and beauty. Each palace was occupied according to the registered arrangement, and no one was allowed to move arbitrarily. If anyone disclosed the place where the emperor was staying, they would be sentenced to death. The first emperor visited Liangshan Palace and saw from the mountain that the prime minister had a large retinue of carriages and horses, which he disapproved of. A eunuch informed the prime minister, and thereafter the prime minister reduced the number of his carriages and horses when going out. The emperor angrily said, It must be the eunuch who leaked what I said. He ordered an investigation, but no one confessed. At this time, the emperor issued an edict to arrest all those who were by his side at that moment and had them all killed. From then on, no one knew the emperor's whereabouts. When the emperor handled state affairs and his ministers received orders, it was all done in the Xianyang palace. Hu Sheng and Lu Sheng discussed together. The first emperor is inherently resolute, cruel, and arrogant. He rose as a feudal lord, unified the world, and everything went as he wished, so he thinks no one in ancient or modern times can compare to him. He only trusts judicial officials, who are all favored. Although there are 70 bashai, they are only nominal officials and not trusted with important tasks. The prime minister and other ministers all receive predetermined orders and act according to his will. The emperor likes to use punishments and executions to establish his authority. Officials under heaven are all afraid of committing crimes and just want to keep their salaries, so no one dares to be fully loyal. The emperor does not hear of his own faults and becomes increasingly arrogant, while the ministers fear his punishment, deceive him to secure their own safety. Qin's laws stipulate that one cannot practice two kinds of divination techniques, and those whose techniques fail to produce results are sentenced to death. However, there are more than 300 people who observe the stars and celestial phenomena, all good people. They are afraid of taboos and flatter the emperor euphemistically, daring not to speak bluntly of his faults. Matters under heaven, whether big or small, are all decided by the emperor. He even weighs the weight of the memorials submitted to him. Memorials are presented from morning to night, and if they cannot be submitted within that time, he will not rest until he has reviewed them all. He is so greedy for power, we cannot seek the immortal medicine for him. So they fled. When the emperor heard that the alchemists had fled, he angrily said, I previously collected books from all over the world and burned those that were useless. I also recruited many scholars and alchemists, hoping to achieve peace under heaven. The alchemists wanted to refine the elixir of immortality. Now I hear that Han Zheng and others have fled and not returned to report. Zhu Fu and others have spent a huge amount of money, but still failed to find the immortal medicine. Every day, only some petty people report to me to seek personal gain. I treated Lu Sheng and others generously, but now they slander me to exaggerate my lack of benevolence. As for the Confucian scholars in Xianyang, I will send someone to interrogate them. Perhaps some are confusing the common people with evil words. The emperor then sent imperial censors to interrogate the Confucian scholars. The scholars accused and reported each other. The emperor personally selected more than 460 Confucian scholars who had violated the prohibitions and had them all buried alive in Xianyang. He made this known to the whole country to warn future generations. The emperor further conscripted more people to garrison the border. Fu Su, the emperor's eldest son, remonstrated, the world has just been pacified, and the common people in distant regions are not yet settled. The Confucian scholars all praise and follow Confucius. Now your majesty is punishing them with severe penalties. I fear that the people under heaven will feel uneasy. I hope your majesty will examine this carefully. The emperor was very angry and sent Fu Su to Shenzhen in the north to serve as the military supervisor of Menqiang.